In 1993, Hadaway asked, "What is love?" and I could not answer. In 2004, Jamie Cullum asked, "What difference does a day make?" and I could not answer. And several times I've been asked, "Who let the dogs out?" and I could not answer. But what I can answer is this National Treasures Interviews? Yes. Yes, it is. Because welcome to National Treasures Interviews with me, Will Duggan, and you.
The viewer.
No, you personally.
Oh, me. Laura Lexx, yes.
The other host.
I thought you were still talking to the audience. That might be my favourite intro you've done yet. I like that one.
Thank you very much.
I really thought it was going somewhere really big and then it didn't. I loved it.
I was driving home from work today, and "What is Love" that came on the stereo, and I was singing. And halfway through, I thought, he never answers that question. And then I thought, other questions I never answered. And then I wrote this, and now it's now.
I loved it.
Welcome, friends, and welcome, Laura. How are you today, Laura?
I'm all right. I'm tired, but I'm hoping that this will rejuvenate me. I've been trying to write jokes all day for a TV show because I'm fancy, and now my brain just feels like a husk. You know, and you've just, like, at one point today, I think I texted you about it. I really considered just Googling what jokes about Donald Trump haven't already been done and just seeing what came up.
And I claim the results will be a Google whack. We have a lot of banter outside of the show.
A delightful friend of ours who does comedy and emailed me to say, hey, when you're back on the road, go to this place and have a day out. And I was like, we'll go one better. Instead of just us going and funnying about there, can you come and tell us about it? And he's agreed. So everybody viewing, please welcome to your screens, Rich Massara.
Hey.
Hi.
Please, where are you telling us about today, Richard?
I am telling you about my favourite place in London, the John Soane Museum.
Right. I've never heard of it. Can you talk about the basics? Who is John Soane? Where's his museum? What's my day one information here? Because I've heard of the Natural History Museum.
Very nearly said Hitler Museum,
didn't you? It was very nearly. I've heard
the National Hitler Museum. Everybody goes there on some holidays, school trips, right?
Yeah, we all wear brown shirts and go marching. It's great fun.
Well, to help my edit, let's get away from Nazism.
Okay, so the John Soane Museum. I found out about John Soane when I was in my early 20s at university, and I spent a lot of time up late at night, very high. And I was flicking through channels and a documentary came on TV, and it was a boring, some guy wandering around a house being like, "These are very fascinating paintings, and look at these." And I was high and I stuck on it, and it was the most interesting thing I'd ever watched. John Soane was a Regency architect in the 17 to early 1800s, and the guy was mad. He was absolutely mental. His house is exactly as it was the day he died. He kind of got an act of parliament to bequeath his house to the nation, and it is a cabinet of curiosities and weirdness and strange, bizarre little nooks and crannies. It's in Lincoln's Inn Field, so it's about a 2-minute walk from Holborn train station. And you go along, and it's number 13 Lincoln's Inn Field, and it looks a little bit different from the rest of the buildings as you walk up to it. And you walk into the hallway, and you kind of go into a nice kind of like Regency dining room with books on the walls, and it all looks like very, very boring. And then you go through this small passage, and a labyrinth opens up around you. You've got, at one point, I have to turn sideways to get through a hallway because it's so narrow, and there are like Greek death masks on the wall going all the way up the wall, and then it's got like strange domed ceilings with just things he'd found, or like like plaster casts he'd had made of these either architectural or like sculptures, and he's just fucking stuck them on a wall. And they're everywhere. They're on the ceiling, and like you go, there's one room where he kept his paintings, and the guy had a lot of paintings. He was mates with Hogarth, and like he knew Turner, and like he's got loads of these oil paintings, and they're on all four walls when you walk in, and you're like, that's a pretty impressive collection. And there's usually some guy with white gloves who's stuck in the room, who's just like, yeah, I'll tell you about the paintings, but let me show you the secret. And then he pulls a little latch and he opens up two of the paintings. They're on like these big doors, and there's a shitload more paintings on either side and loads in front of you. And then he closes them and he goes, have a look at this wall. And he does it again.
What?
And he opens up this other wall, and there's a whole load more of these fabulous historical oil paintings. And you're like, well, this can't get any better. This has already blown my mind. And he goes, no, wait a minute. And he closes that wall, turns around, lifts a catch, opens another. You've got paintings on either side, but behind it is a fucking balcony that leads down, and you can look down into what he called, I believe it was the monk's rectory, which was this little room.
I'm glad the end of that word was Turi.
But so he was an architect.
Yeah.
So he wasn't like traveling the world collecting all these things. He just designed houses.
Well, he did do like, because one of the things he did back in like the Regency days apparently was like, you came out of university and studying, you got a bit of money, and then you went on a grand tour for like 3 years. And he went around a bit of Europe.
After you've been cancelled doing Top Gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Just checking on the same page.
And he went to like Rome and stuff, and he was really influenced by like Roman and Greek architecture.
Right, just quickly about him a little bit, because I'd never heard of him before we started talking about him. And so he got the Parliament to leave the museum so his son wouldn't get it. He hated his son.
Well, from what I understand, he had two sons. One of them died quite young, just after his wife died. And then like George was this gambling, carousing, like he was throwing any money away.
This is the other son.
George is the son who he didn't get on with. Although I think he didn't have a great relationship with both his sons, but George was the bad one. And what happened was George, like there was a period of time like where John kind of went in and out of fashion, and like he was attacked. He was never like incredibly popular. He had big designs of buildings, but like he was friends with William Pitt, and he was getting criticized a lot in the press, and it was found out that it was George who was writing all these scurrilous articles because him and his dad didn't get on. And although you say he didn't approve of the marriage, George was an alcoholic, abusing man to his wife. And this is back in the time when if you were married to a dickhead, you just had to be like, oh, well, I am but a woman. I cannot do anything.
The 1980s.
The 1980s. He left the house and a trust as an act of parliament to the nation. George knew that this meant he'd get nothing. So he tried to have it like contested and thrown out. That wasn't the thing. And then in his will, he left George a stipend of like £30 a year, which was nothing. But because his wife was treated so badly by George, he left her £300 a year with the stipulation that it was to be in no way under George's control what happened to that money. He couldn't touch it. It's just like, mwah, beautiful little fuck you.
So did original Flavour John, Daddy John, did he come from money?
No, son of a bricklayer.
So how do you get from being a son of a bricklayer who's like not the super most successful architect of his time to being buying 3 houses in a row, having a party for 3 days kind of money?
I mean, like the thing is, he had some. The sad thing is he had like some big things he built. He built the first Bank of England.
Oh, that's a big
Or
one.
was it
I've heard of that.
Yeah, he built the Bank of England, and it was like amazing. And then what was the name of the guy? Yeah, he worked at the bank. So he was the architect and surveyor for the Bank of England for 45 years, like 1788-ish. He got his job because William Pitt was his mate, and William Pitt was the prime minister, which has changed now. You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't get on a podcast interview series on YouTube just because you know the hosts.
I think you're saying you can't get jobs because your friends are in government, which is in fact the worst crime.
And then some guy came along after and completely like ripped up all his work, like demolished.
Though, it must have been a nice building, but if you're in the vault and then you open the back wall and there's loads of paintings in there, you need space balcony for the money.
Yeah, like why is there a balcony in
there? Where shall I pop these jewels? Move the sarcophagus. Whack the farthings in.
He was a big interior guy. He was kind of like, outside of the building can look functional, but inside he was like, it's all about imagination and magic and like mystery.
Feels unusual for an architect, or maybe it's just the architects that you get told about are the ones that you've seen their big buildings and thought they were cool. But I don't know of like as many. I don't know where that sentence ends. But
it's quite a modern ideal that like everyone's. It's like I've been to both of your houses, and they're on roads where that looks like a house, and that looks like a house, that looks like a house. But inside,
well, now everyone's going to know where I live, Will.
In a house.
If we get 100 patrons this week, I'll dox Laura. But like your houses, just all like houses. But I guarantee you have decorated and arranged differently to your neighbours.
I've got courgette sprayed all up one wall of my dining room.
You get drunk once, and it was me. I sneezed when I was drunk, and courgette flew out onto a picture frame.
Oh, right, okay.
If we get 200 patrons this week, I'll come to your house and sneeze a courgette on your stuff. But that's how we work these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the question? I was thinking about the courgette sneeze again.
I'm kind of
nothing's ever made me laugh quite so much as that courgette sneeze.
Oh my God.
No, hold on. Did he have courgette in his mouth and he sprayed it?
Yeah, I was eating.
Was the sneeze so hard that there was courgette on his plate?
No,
and
he
the
sneezed.
Courgette, like a Benny Hill sketch, just went whoop.
Laura had cooked dinner. There was courgettes involved.
We were having burgers with courgette salad, and then a sneeze over to Will, and the courgette just sprayed.
He was eating like in a burger bun, and he sneezed and it flew out the burger bun. Oh, that is.
No, I had a lamb burger, some courgette salad, maybe some quinoa thing, and I was eating, and it was the summertime, and the pollen count was high, and midway through, I was overtaken, and I fought it for so long, Rich. I thought, because if I sneeze now, I've got half-chewed food all in my mouth. I can't believe it's gone on the internet. In years, my mum watches these. And then, like, I fought it, and I fought it, and I fought it. And you couldn't tell on the outside. I was very much like John Soane. The exterior of my face was very normal and placid, but the interior was wild. But then, suddenly, I got a private act of parliament to share with the country the interior of my house. Courgette everywhere. I felt so bad. And on that very same day, I'd had to go. I was in the spare room at Laura's house having a meeting while her husband, and my girlfriend
to the spare room.
Were watching TV, and the bed frame moved. I just fell to the floor in a crash and a bang.
It was a full day for you.
It was. Oh dear. It was one of my favourite weekends I've ever spent.
But there's one bit in the house where you can go upstairs, and in one bit it's got his original kind of like drawing and floor plan of the Bank of England. And then on the other side, when the Houses of Parliament burnt down, this is what I remember from the documentary. He was actually commissioned to like design our new Houses of Parliament, and then kind of like fell out with the people who were doing the commissioning,
Oh.
and they built that big old Gothic clock penis that they decided to build in the end.
That man is our Prime Minister. How dare you refer to him as such?
Are you being the right wing one today, Will?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll be the right wing one today.
I'll be left.
Okay.
We're trying to get on the
Right.
BBC.
Oh,
you know
right. Okay.
what? Oh,
so a little bit of balance.
Just for
But we swapped to keep it
Yeah.
really balanced.
This week, do you know what I love?
What?
Churchill.
Uh-huh.
And Laura hates him. So
Mhm.
bear that in mind,
Oh.
commissioners. Here's a question then, because
Okay.
so we have never heard of him, Laura
Right.
and I both. And
Uh-huh.
seeing as granted, he didn't design the Houses of Parliament, but he very nearly did. And he didn't design the current Bank of England, but he did design the Bank of England. And he did
Yeah.
design the first art gallery in the UK. And he owns 3 houses and he's got this. Why don't we know of him? Why has he fallen foul of history?
I don't know. From like the stuff I could find out is kind of like literally after his death, people kind of went, John who? What? No, never heard of him. And it wasn't until the 20s that like his architectural style started to become more popular, and then again in the 80s. Because I think at the time, a lot of what he was doing, like people were just kind of like, what are you doing? Like, we don't get it. It's that bit in Back to the Future where he finishes playing the guitar and goes, I don't think you guys are ready for this, but your kids are going to love it, sort of thing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the advert in the middle of the thing. This is our second take of it, because I said hello last time and Laura just started laughing, but we'll move past. We're very good friends. We have thank yous to say, Laura, don't we?
We do. We've got a big thank you to say to Melinda. Thanks so much for being a patron, Melinda. We're really happy to have you on board.
And thank you also to Maureen. Thank you for being here, and you are also my friend Chris's mum. Welcome.
Hi, Maureen, and thank you for making Chris, who makes Will, happy. Thank you for being you. You make both of us happy. And Melinda, I don't want you to feel like just because you haven't birthed a friend of Will's that you're not one of our favourites. You're also big in the club. If you would also like to be one of our favourites, but don't want to go to the effort of birthing a friend for Will.
You are also big in our club. I mean, there we go. Listen, you're big in our club, and that's a fact.
That's what we say about our treasurers. You're big in our club. That's what we're all over in the Discord. That's how it goes. Join the Discord if you're a patron. You can do that. We are chatting about Ron's years in there, where Ron rates. That was hard to say. Ron rates the Years and Years podcast years and tells us what he thinks. And the discussion is lively. So get on that.
Great. And also get on to the Reddit, r/National Treasures. We're not one of those not safe for work communities. We're nice. Point is, if you like us, find us. Bye.
Bye. Like 2 parts. One, I couldn't name an architect working today. Like, I know a few from the past, but I couldn't name one from today. So there'll be people working today who will go down in history that none of us have heard of right now. But also, like, if he's quite ahead of his time in doing funky things with glass, if the technology just isn't there to make that as warm as a not glass brick or whatever, it's not useful architecture to the vast majority of people.
Yeah, I suppose he definitely has a style over function, because
Yeah.
getting into his house, like in some areas, you're just like, how did you live like? Because he lived in that house.
Well, as it sort of is now.
And it is. They've actually done a big restoration to get the whole house back to how it was, because the condition was it had to be kept as it was at the time of his death. He had like apartment upstairs, but he used the rest of the house. And it was almost like most of his house was just him showing off and just going, I'm a mad bugger, come and see what I've done, because this is bloody brilliant. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the 3 things that made me fall in love with that house when I went to visit it. One is the picture room, because I was just like, all right, you're a nutter. I love you. The second one was there is a memorial to his wife's dog, who she loved. And his wife died early on in their marriage. but the dog stayed around a lot longer. It's outside. It's inside the buildings, but it's outside. Like you're looking at it through a window and it's outside, but it's in like a little square that is in the building, and it's massive. It's like a 3-foot tall obelisk, and just at the bottom is inscribed, "Alas, poor Fanny," because Fanny was the name of his wife's dog. And you're just wandering around, you look out the window and it just says, "Alas, poor Fanny," and you're like, I like this guy, I do.
It's like that cool bit on a water flume where you're outside, but you're still inside the flume.
Yeah, like I was just kind of like, this is weird. And then the third thing that made me fall in love with the house was I saw a human skeleton in there.
Ooh,
it's not on display.
Oh.
There was like
hang
a
on.
kind of there was a closed off bit. It was behind some windows, and I saw it on 3 different occasions. That I was wandering around and I was going down these like tiny little wrought iron steps, and I looked through a window because it's just there. And then I was like, that looks like a motherfucking skeleton. But you can't be sure because you can't quite see it. So on the 3rd time I asked someone, I was like, "Excuse me, is there a human skeleton in here?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was just like, why? Why is there a human skeleton? No answer. Just, it's something he had.
No idea who it is.
No idea who it is. Never on display. I don't think they want people to know about it because it was like kept in some dusty room. But like, I was
there's
just like,
a bloody edit point.
Out of all of the exhibits in the house, which one's your favorite?
It's less of an exhibition, but there's his like breakfast room. I think it's called the breakfast room. There's this little room, and it wasn't until like 4 or 5 visits in that I saw something that made me get it. It's kind of like, it's a tiny little square room. It's got a circular table in the middle. It's got an arched domed ceiling, and there are all these like concave mirrors, like circular, like fisheye mirrors. There's like a big one at the top of the ceiling, and then there are all these small little ones kind of like branch out from it, from the arches.
Mm-hmm.
And I always liked that room for some reason. But then one day I was there, it was like getting dusk, it was 5 o'clock, it was winter, and somebody came in and put a little like LED tea light in the center of the table. And every single mirror in that place was designed so that if you put a candle in the middle of the table, it hits it in every single mirror.
Oh, that's cool.
Incredible.
I was just like, what is this? You're a
He's
nutter.
got big Caractacus Potts energy, this guy. I feel like
Totally.
He'd make a great, like, how is there not a film about this eccentric, like, I don't know if you saw Jingle Jangle, that Netflix Christmas film, but like he's got sort of eccentric inventor vibes.
What a reference. Yeah. Huge fan of that, Laura.
What?
Jingle Jangle is a reference.
Jingle Jangle reference.
Big fan.
I didn't watch.
I'm just saying I loved it.
It's really good.
We have peppered you with questions. We hear that you have some questions for us. And just before you start the quiz, you need to know we take this far too seriously. We will argue, we will bicker, we will fight.
Okay, is there a time, like, do you do time limit on how long it takes you to ask a question? Do I ask a question to one and then to the other? Or is it fire questions at you?
Fire questions at us, buddy.
Okay. Which pharaoh is sarcophagus is in the John Soane Museum?
Seti,
that was clearly me. That was clearly me. You can't jump in. What's the point of having a buzzer?
All right. Okay, there are buzzers. I just thought you were the first person to show. I mean, Will did say yes first.
No, it's fine. Laura's very much nailed her colours to the
mast. 1 point to Laura.
And if you put a flag in Laura's mast, it shines in every mirror of fury I have in my breakfast room.
Your breakfast room, which is covered in sneezed foods.
One courgette.
How long did John Soane work at the Bank of England?
45 years.
Oh, Laura, he's been pulled equal with you.
Yeah.
Can you not?
And you may notice I've stopped having fun because you both cheated. You ganged up on me.
Cheat.
What? We didn't cheat.
I buzzed in. You ignored the buzz.
You didn't tell me there was a buzzer. That's
There's
cheating.
always a buzzer.
You never told me I had to be quizmaster as well. I just thought I was asking the question. What? Oh, Will, don't do that dance.
Sorry. Minus one.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to move my book. What was the name of John Soane's wife's dog?
Oh, Fanny!
If you just clip that bit of Laura, like that should be the YouTube thumbnail. Oh, that face you made, Laura, that was brilliant. Oh, sorry.
Like a stag do getting to Magaluf.
Oh, 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 oh. Do we need another question?
Think so.
I've definitely won.
That was a draw.
No, I was first.
Let's do 10. They're quick questions. I like them.
Oh my God, you mean I've got to try? Okay, John Soane was the son of a what?
Bricklayer.
Which prime minister was
Pitt the Elder.
William Pitt.
Thank you. William Pitt, that's what I'm accepting. Because I don't know anything about British politics, so I don't know whether he was the elder or the younger.
At one point, he'd been the elder.
That's very true, Will. Okay, in his awesome room of folding out paintings, name me one artist.
Turner.
Hooch.
For a bonus point, Hogarth.
I'm going to give the bonus point to Laura for Hooch.
So, Rich, you said this
Yes.
is near Holborn Station. Did you say it was 12, 13 and 14 Lincoln Square?
Lincoln's Inn.
13 Lincoln's Inn Field. And literally, you can walk to it from, I've forgotten the name, where all the ballet stuff is, Covent Garden. You can walk to it from Covent Garden. If you get off, the Royal Academy of Ballet's there, isn't it? Because I walked past a poster once of one of their dancers who tried to pull me in a gay pub in York once. Anyway,
this is like when you try and get directions, you go, right, so you go up, now there's a street. It was there 20 years ago, and you go left, but only facing one way, right the other way, of course. Anyway, it's a 2-minute walk from Holborn Station. It's a 5-minute walk from Covent Garden. It's in a beautiful, beautiful part of London. Lincoln's Inn Field is also like this beautiful, tiny little square park surrounded by these gorgeous Regency houses. So if it's a nice sunny day, you can go have a picnic in the park. You can go in the museum for free. You can see some of the strange things I haven't even had time to mention. It's absolutely wonderful. They've just done a whole new renovation where they've turned it back to exactly as it was. So you can now go on all 3 floors and see all the weird stuff that he had up there, because he has an entire room devoted to a model of ruins he saw in Rome. And he had like one of the first indoor baths. He was a bit odd. He was great. I can't recommend it highly enough.
I assume accessibility is not great then, if you're not on 2 feet and sort of can get about easy. It's not good. There's no lifts and things like that.
Well, they have installed a lift.
Oh, okay.
But I would say go on their website and ask about it, because there is no way, like, you would have to destroy the place to make some areas like wheelchair accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And there's still stuff there you could probably see, but yeah, it's not. I mean, you know, the place is from 1834.
Yeah.
It's sad to say. I believe there's also a virtual online tour you can do and stuff.
Okay.
Good stuff on YouTube. Like when you Google some of the pictures, you'll see like exactly how bizarre the place is. So you'll understand once you can see the pictures, because there is barely room in places for an able-bodied person to freely move around. Like if you've had a big lunch, don't go, because like if you've eaten a lot of bread and are bloated, like just be careful.
And Richard, if people want to catch up with you, where can they do that?
They can go to at Richard Massara on Twitter, Massara. I occasionally put some stuff on YouTube, or just follow me down the streets. I'm not a fast runner.
Hey,
Great.
thank you so much
us,
for
Richard.
telling us about the John Soane Museum.
Mate, it's been a pleasure. I've had a great time. It's been lovely seeing your faces.
Bye, Richard.
Oh, funny!
That was the wonderful Richard Massara telling us all about the John Soane Museum. Thank you so much for watching. We've had a very lovely time. My stomach hurts from laughing.
My stomach hurts from laughing, particularly when you shouted "Fanny," which I will think about and just laugh. You know how you laugh at my cause? Yeah, there. But I'm gonna do that to you. If you like us, you can follow us at TreasuresPod on Twitter and Instagram. You can email us if you'd like to be a guest on one of these videos, if you know someone who should be, if you just want to say hello. We are nationaltreasurespodcast@gmail.com. Anything else, Laura?
If you would prefer these videos as a listenable podcast that you can take with you in your ears wherever you go, you can sign up to our Patreon and get the extra Years and Years episodes, the extras from these videos, and these videos as an audio download.
Yeah, that's everything. Anything to add?
Fanny?
Funny! Bye!